Welcome to the webinar, Protocol in the DAR World. I am Karen Gerard, National Chair of the Protocol Committee. It is my pleasure to serve during the Van Buren administration. The Protocol Committee was confirmed as a special committee in 1971. In 1977, it became an administrative committee. During this webinar, members will learn why the National Society has protocol and how it evolved. Topics include DAR organization, common courtesies, endorsements, electing delegates and alternates, voting, DAR order of precedence, introductions, procession and recessionals, receiving lines, and seating. Knowledge of proper protocol will instill in members and leaders the ability to participate confidently. Protocol may be defined as the ceremonial forms and courtesies that are established as proper and correct, and as the proper etiquette for recognizing and honoring those in positions of leadership. The National Society established their protocol order after consultation with the State Department of the United States, which bases the order by position, not by individual wishes. We have DAR protocol for wearing the insignia, dress protocol, U.S. flag protocol, meeting ritual protocol, and much more. The fundamental principles of protocol are dictated by ethics, courtesy, good manners, and common sense. The official procedure and protocol document is a web-published how-to manual and is available on the Protocol Committee page of the members' website. The President General is the highest ranking officer of the National Society and is the only individual who can speak on behalf of the National Society. She is the honored guest at any DAR function and should always be given the place of honor. Should the President General designate another national officer as her official representative for an event, that officer is accorded the place of the President General. The state regent is the highest ranking officer in her state organization or state society and is the only individual who can speak on issues related to her state organization or state society. Article 9 of the National Society bylaws lists the national officers and the state regents as members of the National Board of Management. There are two types of national officers, executive officers and vice presidents general, all of whom are elected by vote at Continental Congress. The 12 executive officers form the executive committee and were asked by the candidate for president general to run as a candidate for executive office to serve in her 3-year administration. There are 21 vice presidents general, 7 in each of the 3 classes. Each year at Continental Congress, 7 vice presidents general are elected, each to serve a 3-year term. The senior group of vice presidents general is the 7 who are completing their 3-year term of office. The newest elected group is listed last when listing all 3 classes. Within each class, the vice presidents general are listed according to the votes received at election. The first one listed receives the most votes, and the 7th one listed received the fewest votes. Regardless of the ranking within the class, each has an equal vote on the National Board of Management. There are 53 state regents who serve on the National Board of Management. These state regents are elected by their respective state organization or state societies and represent the 50 states, the District of Columbia, Mexico, and France. In the absence of her state regent, a state vice regent may attend and serve on the National Board of Management with the approval of the President General. The position of parliamentarian is an appointed position and would have reserved seating with state or chapter chairman for social events or meals. For business sessions, the parliamentarian is seated to be convenient to the presiding officer. Often, this is the first seat to the left of the lectern. If the parliamentarian has a vote, she cannot use it for verbal or standing votes, but she may participate on a ballot vote. The parliamentarian remains neutral and does not participate in discussion. The parliamentarian advises, but only the presiding officer rules. There are two honorary officers recognized by the National Society at the national level: Honorary President General and Honorary Vice President General. Each of these is elected by vote at Continental Congress and has a vote at Continental Congress. These honorary officers are elected for life. An honorary President General is elected at the conclusion of her term as President General. Article 5, Section 4C of the National Bylaws authorizes 13 honorary Vice Presidents General. No two can be from the same state, and a prerequisite is that the candidate has served a full term as a Vice President General. Chapter bylaws determine the election of retiring chapter regent as honorary chapter regent. Otherwise, all who have served as chapter regent are listed by seniority of service, with the one who served earliest being listed first, followed by those who followed in order of the years served. Regardless of honorary chapter regent or past chapter regent, the order is still by seniority of service. Although an individual may be invited to join DAR by a local chapter, she becomes a member of the National Society first. Her application papers are verified by the Office of the Registrar General, and once approved, she becomes a member by action of the National Board of Management. Each member is assigned a national number, which is always hers and never will be assigned to another person. Should she resign and decide to reinstate as an active member, her original number is reactivated as her national number. The last national number given to a member is always included in the Registrar General's report to the National Board of Management. This number reveals the number of women who have joined DAR since it was founded in 1890. Next, we will cover when you should rise as a sign of respect. At a DAR function, it is customary for members to rise as a sign of respect for the office when the President General or her state region is presented and at the entrance of the processional. If the President of the United States or the Governor of the state is present, the audience should rise when he or she is introduced or when communications from the President or the Governor are read. Members should also rise during the reading of an official greeting from the President General to a state conference, but it is not customary to stand when the President General's message is read at a chapter meeting. The state delegation should rise briefly when the state regent comes forward to give her report at Continental Congress, and at the memorial service when the state is called. Members rise when their state region is presented at her state conference or when a guest at a chapter function. When a state region is introduced as one of the group of state regions present, as at a DAR school functions, it is not necessary for a member in attendance to rise when the state regent of her state is presented. The chapter delegation should rise briefly when the chapter regent is called upon for her report at state conference and at the memorial service when the chapter is called. When a DAR member is attending a joint DAR and SAR function, the members of each society would wear his or her pins and sashes. When a DAR member is attending a SAR function as a wife or friend of a SAR, she does not wear her DAR insignia and sash. When a DAR member is invited to represent her society as a participating guest at a SAR function, she would wear her DAR insignia and sash. Participating guests would be as a speaker or as the official representative for the state regent. Now, if that is the case, the state regent would have asked the DAR member to represent her and also notified the SAR presiding officer. If the President General or the state regent is presented at a SAR event, DAR members in attendance would not stand. Next, we will cover endorsements and voting. The national bylaws, Section 2A of Article 6, designate that a candidate for Vice President General shall be endorsed by ballot at a state conference where she holds membership. This is the only office in the National Society which requires a candidate to be endorsed by ballot. Other endorsements for any office are courtesy endorsements and not required. If a courtesy endorsement is offered for a candidate for executive office, the endorsement may name the office for which a candidate is running, but cannot name a ticket or the person heading the ticket. For state conference, all honorary state regents of the state, state officers, chapter regents, and a national executive officer who is not included in these three categories has a vote. Honorary presidents general and honorary vice presidents general who are members in the state are usually honorary state regents and have a vote. Chapters should elect as delegates members who are not already granted a vote by virtue of elected office. A past national executive officer who is not an honorary state regent or a chapter regent has a vote only if elected as a chapter delegate. Note that your state bylaws take precedence on the specification of those who are eligible to vote by virtue of office. When it is the appropriate time to elect delegates to state conference and Continental Congress, your chapter members should consider the list of those eligible to vote by virtue of office. Delegates are elected at a regular chapter meeting, and the credential forms for both state conference and Continental Congress need to be properly completed and submitted by the deadlines specified on the forms. The most important thing is that the chapter has voting representation at state conference and at Continental Congress. Next, we will cover the order of precedence. One of the primary concerns of the Protocol Committee is the order of precedence for elected and appointed levels. Elected officers outrank appointed positions. National positions outrank state positions with the same designated office or appointment. Both national and state positions come before chapter officers and appointments. DAR order of precedence is listed in the DAR handbook and national bylaws, as well as on the DAR members' website in the official procedure and protocol document. These documents are a valuable tool to assist you with introductions, seating for business sessions, meals, evening functions, processionals, recessionals, and receiving lines. There are many times you may be faced with a situation that does not fit the order of precedence. Then you should use common sense, good judgment, and do what you think is right. Consult with your state regent when in doubt. We will now cover introductions, processions, recessionals, receiving lines, and seating. A past national executive officer and a past vice president general are introduced in her state according to when she served as state regent. In the state, an honorary state regent outranks a past national officer title. The rank of honorary state regent is considered an active position for life and gives her a vote at her state conference by virtue of her office. Her past national executive office or past vice president general position does not carry a vote at her state conference. An example of her introduction would be Jane Doe, honorary state regent, past chaplain general, and past vice president general. For chapter meetings, introductions and seating are the order in which your chapter officers are listed in your chapter bylaws. State officers are recognized in the order they are listed in the state bylaws. At a regular chapter meeting, chapter officers are not introduced. Each is recognized if she has a report. If time permits, at a special meeting such as Constitution Luncheon, chapter officers may be recognized, but this is not required. The pages carrying the flags should lead formal processions. First, the flag of the United States of America, followed by the state flag and the DAR banner. The order of precedence for those in the processional is the reverse of that for receiving lines, except during a business session when the parliamentarian should be at her place before the processional begins. At Continental Congress and at national DAR functions, the President General enters last. In her state, the state regent enters last. Recessionals are led by the pages retiring the flags. If it is a national DAR function, the President General leads first, followed by the others in reverse order of entering. If it is a state DAR function, the state regent leads first, followed by the President General, if present, then the others in reverse order of entering. Receiving lines do not have to include everyone with the title, but if you include one individual from a category, it is appropriate to include all others within that category. For example, if you include one national chair in a receiving line, all other national chairs present should also be included. Receiving lines should be as short as possible. It is helpful to have a trained hostess or pages assigned to help move the guests quickly and politely through the line. At a state meeting, official out-of-state guests not in the category of visiting state regent are placed just after the visiting state regent category, according to rank. Seating at a head table is planned by assuming the hostess or presiding officer is standing behind the table facing the audience. The order of precedence is then used to plan the correct placement of those to be seated at the head table. At a business session at state conference, the first seat to the left of the lectern would be the parliamentarian. After seating the President General and the parliamentarian, seating is assigned alternating left and right according to order of precedence. Honorary President General, National Executive Officer, Vice President General, Honorary Vice President General, Honorary State Regents, Visiting State Regents, alphabetical according to state, active state officers in order of official listing as in state bylaws. At a business session, the active state officers need to be seated convenient to the main microphone. Honorary state regents could be seated on the first row to the right of the state regent or at a front center table. Visiting state regents can be interspersed with the honorary state regents on the first row or center table. The hostess or presiding officer is seated at the center to the right of the lectern. The state regent is seated to the right of the hostess or presiding officer. The President General is seated to the right of the state regent. The first seat to the left of the lectern would be the parliamentarian if this was a business session, or should be the highest ranking national officer from the state, executive officer or vice president general. Then you alternate right to left with your guest, then your state officers. Or if your state has a tradition of including the honorary state regents on the platform or at the head table, they would be seated before the state officers, alternating right to left according to seniority of service. Hopefully this webinar on DAR protocol has been enlightening and helpful. We will end with a few helpful reminders. Guests are introduced in descending order of rank. There is only one presiding officer. Address that person only. A presiding officer does not applaud. Remove glove from right hand before placing hand over heart while reciting the Pledge of Allegiance and singing the national anthem. It's customary to wear gloves while receiving. The presiding officer will set the example. At a luncheon, wait for the presiding officer to raise her fork before you begin eating. Finally, if all else fails, rely on your common sense and good judgment. Refer questions to the state or national protocol chair.